Hello, and thank you for joining us for another Change Your Chat. My name is Peter Stiepleman from Be the Change Volunteers Advisory Council, and I'm filling in for our regular host, Courtney Govro. And today we are actually recording from one of the Chino High School classrooms in the Amazon jungle with Dolly Beaver. Dolly is the Be the Change Volunteer Community Partner here in Peru, and she's the co-owner of Amazonia Expeditions, and she's the founder of Angels of the Amazon. Jimmy refers to Dolly as the Peruvian Wonder Woman, and it's easy to understand why. For over 30 years, she has made eco-preservation her business, alongside an equal amount of service to the people of the river communities here. I've now spent a few days with Dolly, and I can tell you she is passionate about the river communities. She is absolutely loved. I know there's so much more to learn, and I'm so eager to hear her story. So Dolly, bienvenida, Change Your Chat.
Thank you, Peter. I'm very happy that you made your way to the jungle and start this presentation for me.
You're welcome. Well, I'm excited to be here. So Dolly, one of the purposes of Change Your Chats is to share our platform with other organizations that are changing the world through creating better education, which often leads to better job creation. And I've actually heard you say that education can be the difference for a community. And you are the co-owner of Amazonia Expeditions with your husband, Dr. Paul Beaver, and you are also the founder and director of Angels of the Amazon. And so today we're going to use our platform. We'd like to take an opportunity to share your story with our listeners. So let's start. Would you tell us a little bit about Amazonia Expeditions, the services you provide for ecotourism, and the higher level research that's happening because of this company?
Yes, I'll be happy to. Amazonia Expeditions is a tourism company. We offer adventure travel to people who have passion for nature, culture, who love wildlife, who like to learn about the world, and also who want to do educational trips, field trips, adventure, just in general, whoever wants to see more of nature that we can offer here in the Amazon and has a mind of conservation and values of keeping our planet intact, or at least being part of the solution. We have the tours that we can offer, and we have people who come to do scientific research. That's in the other location, the Research Center Lodge, where they can go and work in the trail grid, and as a field biologist. Different types of research have been done with primates, insects, plants, fish, just different types of students also from different parts of the world have been here. Amazonia Expedition has been in business for over 30 years, and we are very passionate to show anyone who wants to come this far, who travels to enjoy nature, what we have here and what we offer. It's an excellent service. We have guides well-trained and knowledgeable to provide information, educate visitors if they want to, and also to have an adventure. Yeah. And it's a lot of fun.
I'll tell you, having had the opportunity to meet your guides and go on a walking tour a bit of the jungle, such knowledge, such a deep understanding, and such reverence and respect for the flora and fauna of this area. And it's not just something that they know about, it is deeply personal to them. Learning about their own families and how one has a father who has served as a healer, as a cura. Is that how you would say a healer?
Curandero.
Un curandero, and knowing that that's so important to him and to his family. And so as we walked through, he was kind of talking through how each of the different plants are important and how they've played a role in his community and worldwide. And then we're on the river today, and not in a million years would I've seen a sloth in the tree, and there it was, right there. And not only being able to point it out, but to tell us more about its life, how they live in the environment here. Would you tell us a little bit more about how the lodge and the research center started?
The business for the lodges started by Paul, my husband, in 1981. He started coming to the Amazon as a field researcher himself, working for the Brookfield Zoo. He came here. His passion was nature, obviously. He has a PhD in evolutionary biology from the University of Chicago. So he came here to do research. He lived with the locals, the natives, he just fell in love and was really inspired by many people that helped him at the time. So he decided to start a business here and work and bring people to enjoy nature, and it started as a camping company. I met him after more than a decade later. I was hired to work with him, and I joined the venture of a business with him. And that's how it started with the lodges. And the research center lodge came later due to the fact that we had researchers. He's very academic, obviously, with the PhD and the passion for biology. He always made those connections, and people wanted to come in.
I joined the advisory board. I had an idea of what Be the Change was, but to see you and the community and working side by side, this is such an incredible, and I imagine this is your experience in many other places, this seems like a really special place.
It is a special place. I can see myself in every student. I can see myself in every mother. I can see myself in every person. That could be me, is what I think sometimes.
They
that
access
would be my
you
life.
to share their hopes, their dreams for their children. I see them sharing their frustrations and fears. I see them laughing with you. I see them not complaining, but it's more like, the life is hard for everyone in any situation, and you are such a counsel and a support. It's really beautiful.
They feel safe, and I think that's one of the reasons they come to me. They feel safe, and they also feel that I can trust. They can trust, and whatever they tell me is something that I know is just between them, me, and if there is anything that I can say to help them, and if it helps them, I feel good about it. And if it helps them, after all, if they're frustrated or unhappy, and I see them smiling and laughing, and then later going like, oh, remember when, or this happened when, I just feel like, you know what, I learned something from it. It's every time that I do something, it's, okay, I'm learning. Next time, I can do better.
Would you tell us a little bit about Angels of the Amazon? And I was reading about Jean Carlos, and just what an incredibly moving story about a child who could have been left behind had it not been for you and others, and his own grandparents, who said, "No, not for him. We're going to make a commitment to him. He also wanted it." Can you tell a little bit about Angels of the Amazon and the work that you've done?
Angels of the Amazon was it's a nonprofit organization created even before I had registered as a nonprofit. I always been passionate about social work or charity. I like philanthropy. It's all together. I started working with women, especially with women. I was always interested in domestic abuse situations, and working with the locals in the community and helping them create an organization to provide work for them with their arts and crafts. They're very talented, and this is keeping also, in a way, our traditional ways of making beautiful baskets and keeping away our cultural traditions through an art that is, goes way long time ago. Our ancestors passing knowledge through generations. So I started working with the women so they can start actually earning and having like an employment. And all started with them having conversations about what is their biggest issues or fears or concerns. So we would get together, work in that, and then they would talk about their children. And a lot of times it would be like, okay, we are concerned about my daughter finishing elementary school. We didn't have at the time a high school in Chino. We didn't have teachers. We were not granted yet the certification by the government, only elementary school. Then they would say, okay, my daughter is going to finish elementary school. Then what? We don't have the means or support to send her to the city to go and continue her education. Then they would end up with 6th grade next year, maybe having children, getting married at age 13, 14. And some of them really aspire for more. They want to, but the means were not there, and so they always felt, I can't do it. They would tell me about their difficulties with healthcare, difficulties about earning. And so that's how Angels of the Amazon started, creating these programs we have 3 major programs, which is education, healthcare, and economics, which we're constantly working, improving our programs and adding things. Like in this case, with education, we started helping with the schools, helping to lobbying, have the government grant us the high school rights, and then sponsoring students. Eventually, Giancarlo's became one of the students that had sponsors. At the time, he had his grandparents. He was being raised by his grandparents, as you read the story. But he was very young, very little when we started, and he was very friendly boy and shy at the same time. You almost felt like he doesn't fit, he doesn't feel quite right. Because it was, I think, missing that aspect of, okay, I'm being raised by my grandparents, my mom is not here, she left me, and the situation kind of made it a little bit uncomfortable for him every time, he was in school and everybody was there with the parents. So we work creating this program for students like him if they are having hard time financially, and we want to support them and we want to keep them in school. Then if they have cases, specific cases, like you have a large family and the parents really don't have means for all of them, we want to help at least with one of their kids so they can focus on the other ones. Just in different situations, we want to support them, but the parents have to be involved 100%. They have to want it, and the student too, because it would not be possible if just one side is interested.
Right,
in
you
the
can't
other
want
side.
it more than the family.
Yeah, so that's how Angels started. With the healthcare also, we decided what community we're going to work with. We have professionals, they are taking care or assisting about 17 communities in La Cuenca in the area of the Towayo River. For economics, we work with the women, we support them in their efforts to have a job.
Will you talk a little bit about that? I was incredibly impressed by when you shared about how domestic abuse can be lowered when there's evidence that the wives are now earning a living, and I just had never considered how that might have played a role in terms of just improving the relationship between couples, improving the outcomes in terms of the whole community. Can you just tell me a little bit about the work that women are doing in terms of the artisanal crafts that they create, and how that has created a really interesting dynamic between husbands and wives, and what their roles had been traditionally, and now how that has sort of improved outcomes for everybody.
Initially, when we started doing tourism, we had guests that liked to have a souvenir, and there was nothing in this area to buy. The women knew how to weave, and they used to have things at home, and we would tell them, do you have anything for sale that the tourists like to take as a souvenir, as a memory? And they would say no, and then eventually we would go to some homes and we would see a few things, but nothing fancy, nothing extravagant, or either, let's say, some potteries. We don't do potteries here, but we do other types of things with the fiber from the Chambira palm. And we started a market underneath the lodge for simple things that they used to trade at the beginning. And part of the problem when we started working with the women was that their husbands wanted them to continue working, just doing farming and fishing, helping them with things, with chores, and working with them in the farm. They didn't have enough time to come and improve their skills. That alone used to be an issue for them more than for me, but I started noticing like something is not right. What's happening here? And before, I used to notice some domestic abuse, and I would tell them, why don't you leave? And they'd be like, well, I don't know what to do. I have so many children. What am I going to eat, and where we're going to go? And all these, typical answers. So creating a group, Association of Artisans, Manos Amazonicas, gave me the idea that maybe if they earn money, they won't be able to put up with this situation. It would be good for them. And it worked. They earn money. They gain respect. They have a voice in their home. They have a voice in their community. They can participate like with the rest of the men in the political issues. And more than that now, confidence. They rise. And they are very proud of the work they do. It's their job. They finally have a degree. They are an artist.
Yeah.
And they feel very proud, and they work very hard improving. We work in so many workshops, creating, changing colors, mixing. It's all handmade. It's all natural dyes. It's all with plants, barks of trees, fruits of trees, and it's just amazing how together you just make better and better products. And my job, it's always to encourage them, to motivate them, to help them, and to let them know that they're very valuable, not just to their families, but valuable to themselves.
Didn't you also tell me that that in some cases now the husbands they're now collecting the front,
they are helping to collect
they saw the value and what this translates into.
They saw the value, and they see that this is a very important aspect they respect. And so it was like a ripple effect. It helps with conservation because what we do is renewable resources. It's sustainable. Economically, it's helping them. They're able to feel good about themselves. Like I said, the self-esteem has rise above levels that...
How excited were you when we went to our opening ceremony and to see the attaché to the governor, is a woman, right? She's...
we selected Estelita.
Yeah.
She used to be our president for the women artisans for a few years, many years. I worked with her very closely. She's a quiet and laid-back person, very smart woman, and I think she's doing a great job, and I think she was elected by both
men and women.
By both men and women. Not easy, but it happened by, a short margin. But
a win is a win.
Yeah, a win is a win.
Well, will you briefly, I know we have to end soon, but would you briefly talk about a better life and a better community? There is I believe, a young woman who is now in the city going to university to become a kindergarten teacher. That's exciting.
Yes, it's very exciting. In fact, that's our first student from the high school El Chino who fought to get a seat in the university, the Peruvian Universidad Nacional de la Amazonía Peruana, the University of the Peruvian Amazon.
Yep.
And she is from Chino. Being in a rural area, you don't have the same education like in the big city because the limitations that we have, even though we have a beautiful school, we have teachers, there's still some limitations. So when we started with her, it was a big challenge, and she took it. She owned what she got, and we helped. But it was I think a very important aspect for everybody to see in her community that she did it, then the other ones can do it too. It was not easy first for her to find the help because the parents were worried. They just said we can't afford it, and she can go. She always wanted to be a kindergarten teacher. We talk about this for too many times, long before she finished high school. The parents were like, no, you're just going to go like your sister to an academy and become like an agricultural maybe assistant. And she was crying. She didn't want to. She came and talked to me. And I said, well, talk to your parents. And she says they don't understand. They can't really understand, and I'm frustrated. And she cried. And she's very young. And they're very obedient here. They listen to the parents. I said, well, do you want me to talk to your parents? yes, but they won't understand. So it was very, very hard on her. She told me that if she doesn't go to the city and if I take her, she'll run away. I said, no, you won't, because I'll bring you back. We can't have that. I'm not going to get involved with that. So we went and talked with Mom. Then I invite Mom here. We talk. I told her we can try and see how it goes. But for that, it was a big step that the mom had to say yes. It wasn't because they didn't want their daughter to be something else, have a good future. I think it was fear also. It was fear, she's young. It was also financial means. And so I had to convince the parents first. And finally, when we got a yes, we took her to see how is it going to be, where it's going to be, get all the information. She was excited. As soon as we told her, she jumped in the boat and she went to Iquitos with us. And that's when we started the work, really. It's like a whole new, like you just uncover her eyes. She was excited. We enrolled her in an accelerated program so we can get her prepared for the test. And the university, you test with 2,000 and plus students probably to get seats for 20. And she came out of 2,000 students in number 11.
I love that part. I was just on the edge of my seat going, I hope she tells us what number she was, because what an incredible story.
We didn't have anybody funding her first. And I was still looking. I was doing some things with angels to help house. Another problem, the biggest problem the parents also were facing is like they didn't have a family or they didn't have anybody for her to stay.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
And so that plays a big role. And finally, I mentioned it to our founder of Be the Change, Jimmy and Christy, and they said we will sponsor her and we will love to, help out. And I was like, yes,
yeah.
So things like that I feel like inspires me too and motivates me to continue doing what I'm doing, because I feel that it's rewarding. Not just passionate, but I feel like it's rewarded. It's like you see a child when it's the baby, and now I've been here for so long. Now I see them growing up, becoming somebody important in their community.
Yeah.
And that really is inspiring to me.
I get the sense that the community of Chino and the greater Toallo area, because you've been here so long, they don't see this as that you're doing it for you and that you are doing it with them and for them. Yes,
and in fact, they do say that. They feel like I belong to the community
that
as
has to
one
feel
of
pretty
them.
Special.
And I feel very special, and it's also how I take my responsibilities now. When I'm with them, I work with them, I laugh with them, I have sorrows with them, and more than that, it's a relationship that is authentic. We're not there to take advantage of each other, and we help each other. We are neighbors. It's like a big community now that a lot of my staff are part of it. They come from there, but also the ones that are not, they become part of it. If you're working for this company, Amazon Expeditions, and the branch of Angels of the Amazon, you have to have a sense of compassion. You really have to be willing to serve, or else you can't really work here, because that's what we do.
Yeah. And if I'm right, you employ a lot of individuals from this area.
Yes.
That's an important piece.
Yes, that's an important aspect of the economics.
Yeah. Well, Dolly, gracias por compartir tus experiencias con nosotros. Gracias por ser un tesoro a la comunidad de Chino, la gente de Perú, en realidad nuestro mundo. Tus experiencias nos dan fe que sí podemos ser el cambio. Gracias, Dolly. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences with us, for being such a treasure to the community here in Chino and to the people of Peru, and in reality, to us, to our entire world. These experiences, they give us faith that yes, we can be the change. So, gracias, Dolly.
Thank you to you, Peter, and it's a pleasure.
Thank you for joining us for another Change Your Chat. And if you share this chat with friends and neighbors, and if you're in a position to help us financially, online at btcv.us, please also look at Angels of the Amazon. They are always looking for sponsors to help other families and other children who are on to do great things in their lives and for their community. On btcv.us, you can donate to Be the Change volunteers, and you can also Read more stories about Dolly and our partner project in Peru by ordering our book, Hand Delivered Hope, on Amazon.com. Thank you, and be the change.